Audio check, ladies and gentlemen. Audio check. Here we go, here we go. Good morning, everybody. Listening to All Gassed Up by Wes. All right, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever in the world you're coming to us from, welcome to DYOR Live here on the DYOR Media Network. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking here in the digital media universe. So glad to be hosting another episode of this award-winning show called DYOR Live here, talking about the trading markets of the world. It's Technical Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen, July 15th, 2025. More than halfway through the year, closer to Christmas than it is to New Year's. Or the previous New Year's, I should say. Anyway, we got a good show for you today. It is Technical Tuesday. The man in the box, Pedro Garcia, will be here shortly. And he will go all over the world's indicators, how they affect your bags on a day trading basis. Not just on a day trading, but on an investing basis. Also, what do we got going on here? We got a Bitcoin reversal. We hit the highs of $123,000 just last night, or just 24 hours ago. And now we're all the way back down to 116 today. A big pullback, but as they say, that's good for the market. It's good for trading. Volatility is good for all of us in this, so we can make some money on some trades. As always, if you wanted to keep going up, you do need a pullback. Listen to Pedro. He talks about that all the time. The U.S. dollar's been dipping pretty hard for the past month or two. Intentionally, the U.S. has wanted the dollar to become weaker in order to spur the manufacturing and exports out of the U.S. It's been a good thing, but took a little reversal here this morning and got a lot stronger here. A bit of a recovery in price. I don't know if recovery is the right word. But it's getting a little stronger here. Will it continue or not? Someone else brought up an interesting thing. I'm going to have Pedro look over. While the dollar is appreciating, while Bitcoin's appreciating against the dollar, the price is 122,000. The Bitcoin has not been appreciating against the euro. In the end of the year, 2024, I don't have the graph in front of me, but it was Bitcoin was 102,000 euros. Now it's only 100,004 euros, 104. So it really hasn't appreciated that much. Very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Very interesting. We'll talk about that later and get to the bottom of why it's doing that. Is the dollar devaluing? Yes, the dollar has been devaluing. Is that the cause? Or is there other foreign exchange causes? We'll look into that. Also, big news today. We'll go over this more in detail later. But Donald Trump just came out and tweeted on Truth Social today. One of our segment sponsors, I might add, is Truth Social. Trump said the Clarity Act will pass this week. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The Clarity Act will pass this week, bringing clarity and to regulation and enforcement in the crypto and digital assets industry. So what is the Clarity Act? I was going to go over that later in the show, but I'll probably be going over that quickly here. While we wait for Pedro here. Let's see if I've got a note from Pedro at all. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we get through the intro here, you were listening to All Gassed Up by Wes. Wes used to be on this show a long time before I found Mr. Pedro. Wes was also a budding rapper. All right, let's switch to some other musica. Go back to the yeahs. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks to everyone that's watching. I see you, the crew on Rumble is joining us. If you're out there listening and have access to the comment screen, please comment. Let me know you're here. Let me know that you want to see Pedro come in and talk about technical indicators and review the projects that you're interested in. Let's give everyone a like here. I'm monitoring the YouTube feed and going to give it a like and going to give it a couple of hearts here. These really help us, guys. YouTube has not been good to the crypto industry lately. Can't even spell. But Rumble's been very good to us, and we've... There we go. Where's Mikester? Mike, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Coming to us all the way from the West Coast? West Coast? I can't remember. But anyway, lots of good info to come today. As always, Pedro likes to come in and talk about what's going on with the dollar, with bonds, the world stock market, all this type of stuff. And it's important. And for no other reason than the little nugget I just spoke about a minute ago. Why has Bitcoin appreciated against the dollar, but not against the euro? It's very interesting. Oh yeah, Utah. We're the Flying Elvises. Utah chapter. Oh, I love that movie, but I can't remember the name of it. The Flying Elvises, Utah chapter. To take my son skiing in Utah, we'd fly out to Park City, go out there. But every time we went there, it was the year that Utah had, for some reason, no snow, like La Nina year or something. And we'd get to Park City and like half would be open. And then the next year they'd have a record 800 inches of snow. We were going to be open until July. And when we were there, it's like, wow, don't ski over there, it's rocks. But I grew up skiing at Snowbird. And I never made it to Alta. But my parents liked to go to Deer Valley. They couldn't very rarely afford that, but Snowbird, we loved Snowbird. That was great. I don't know if you're anywhere close to the ski areas or a skier, but that's where you get. I'm watching a couple of trades this morning. I've been watching Bitcoin come down off of its highs from last night, or 2 nights ago, I should say. And people are looking for the rebound. I'm personally looking for what's called the money printer right now to come in after a big sell-off this morning here. Let's bring that up right now and show that. All right, as you know, I've been getting back into trading after a long time, many years off, 3 decades. And I started out with an account with $500 in it. Yes, an Alto is $10 a day pass. I don't think I ever went to Alta. First time I went there was very young. But I don't think so. I think the chair lifts were too slow and too long for my parents at Alta. And Dad was a pretty good skier. Mom was not the Alta type person. But anyway, I'm here on this trade right now, if you can see this behind me. Actually, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. I'm looking to get into this trade here. Bitcoin has come down off its highs, 122. Pumped a little bit here early this evening, or early this morning, and decided to dump right off here. Came from 18,000 all the way down to 115.9 or so. And that's what we call a liquidity sweep. I think I'm hearing Senor Pedro in the background there. Well, hold on, Pedro. Your mic's off. I got you. We'll wait for you to come on. Ladies and gentlemen, this is called a liquidity sweep here. Stop hunt, whatever you want to call it. They, meaning they, I always like to say to people, well, who is they? Who do you mean by they? In Bitcoin and crypto, I'm like, it's they. It's they. They're in control. Big liquidity sweep this morning. Brought it down a lot. Cleaned out all the everybody that was long, and then started a little retracement here. And what I'm looking for is this retracement to come back down a little bit into what's called the 786 Fibonacci. I don't know if it's going to hit that model or not, and if it does, I'm going to buy it and try and get in on what's called the money printer model and let it go up a lot. Not a lot, but go up and make my model for making gains, and we'll see if it happens. Like I said, everybody, I've been telling everybody that I've had an account they started with $500 in it. I got it up to $1,600. The idea was to bring it to $5,000, but real life called. Rent needed to be paid, that kind of stuff. So paid some bills with it. Brought it back down to $200. And now I'm back up to 650 or something like that. Anyway, I know I should be letting my crypto just grow, but it makes it easy when you have some money in there and you can pay with your phone and it comes out of that account and just simple, but that's not the point. The point is I'm showing you what I'm trying to do. I'm learning with Mr. Pedro, who is here or not. I don't know if he's here or not. There he is. There's Mr. Pedro Garcia. Let me get your mic on there. Hold on, let me get your mic on, Pedro. And we're... All right, Pedro will be back in just a minute here. But anyway, that's where I am with trading right now. I'm kind of allowing, as I say, I'm allowing myself to trade 3 different trading models here with real money and not in my demo account. One is this one, the money printer model here. When you see this come down, you can either get in right at the bottom of it, but what I like to do is wait for what's called a retracement or a retest. It's not really a retest, that's not the right word, but a retracement on the Fibonacci, have it come down past the sweet spot and into the 786, and then have it kick off. The other one is the 200 moving average on the one minute chart. If you're looking for small scalps, you wait for the price, the 8 and the 21 period price action to come back up and cross up through the 200, and it usually produces a nice little gain after that. And then I'll just look for pure reversals after massive dumps and just get in. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, my co-host and Pedro Damas extraordinaire and Technical Tuesday leader du jour, Mr. Pedro Garcia, above in the box ahead of me. What is going on, Mr. Garcia?
Hey, man, how you doing, man? It has been a crazy morning, man. When something was supposed to take 20 minutes turns into a 3.5-hour situation, and
well, hey, those visits to the proctologist sometimes get a little complicated.
Honestly, man, something
man, you opened that door.
I did.
And I just walked right through it with that joke.
It just slam dunked me. What was interesting is that looks like I'm gonna have 2 friends. It looks like I'm gonna have 2 less ex-friends because they are dumb, and they brought me into the drama, and I'm like,
drama. It'll ruin you every time.
So I just told them, I said, we're done. We're not friends. Don't call me. Lose my number. I love you guys, but we're done. I don't want to do this. I did not need to get brought into this, and because of it, you'll have to bring me in again, and I don't want to deal with you. So
there's 6.5 billion people on the earth, Pedro. There's more friends out there.
Yeah,
Trust me. I've moved around the world. There's always more friends. there's always more friends and guzzling technical traders.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Listen, man, it's funny is I actually have my the new water bottle here, so it doesn't look all weird. And I literally had to come out. I was like, I gotta get it. You guys, we're done. And they were like, I'm sorry. And I was like, nah, dude. Like, there is no sorry. Y'all crazy. Call me in 5 years. Don't deal with me. Y'all need to grow up.
There's Pedro. We've all known that there are certain people that relish in drama, and then he said, she said, and they get all carried away with it. When none of that shit matters. None of it matters. It's just like whatever. Who cares? I don't care. I heard someone else say today about what their mom said. What other people say about me is their business.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
You know what? It was Crypto Lifer said that. Crypto Lifer said that on his show today. He said, my mom said, what other people say about me is their business. And
exactly.
I know. I was like, that's a perfect way to say it. That's a perfect way to say it.
I really don't care.
Anyway, Pedro, I started off the show by talking about what's coming today. I mentioned that today, yes, is Technical Tuesday.
Yes.
We had a BTC reversal here. We were up at the highs the past.
As planned.
Yep,
that we talked about yesterday.
Exactly. Good for trading, good for stuff, good for going up because you need to come down first. Talking about the dollar recovering a bit here this morning. Mm-hmm. And recovering just means price going up a little. It doesn't actually mean, we still want to see it recover, meaning going down a little bit.
But as planned, like we've been talking about now for a while, right? I said down in here, we got above that.
Well, hold on, I'm not on your screen yet. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
But I also, a big news this morning. Was Donald Trump opening his mouth about crypto. Of course, he did it when I was short on something else, and him opening his mouth about crypto pumped it, and it just, bam! And you're like, ah! But anyway, Trump said that the Clarity Act will pass this week. And so a little later, if you were going to be a little later, I was going to go into what exactly the Clarity Act is. Yesterday, I gave a brief overview of it. So today, I'll spend 5 to 7 minutes talking more deeply about it. I don't know how many times I can look down your throat, Pedro.
I didn't get any breakfast, nothing, bro. And I'm working out, so like, I
good. Don't have breakfast when you work out in the morning, because then you just put the sugar back in your blood. You want your body to eat itself.
I need protein and berries, bro. It's that simple.
Then eat them 5 hours after working out. Let your body eat itself.
No, I'm trying to build muscle, bro. Look at this thing, bro. It's getting there, bro. Look at that. Ooh, look at that. Oh, cramp. Oh, oh dude. Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the entertainment you get here.
There you go.
Anyway, so I'll be talking about a little bit later. I'll interrupt Pedro's Technical Tuesday to talk about what exactly is the Clarity Act and how it'll benefit you. Anyway, Pedro, we've got the start of something special today. Yes, I mean, I know I'm here, but what is special about today, Pedro? I've said it 15 times already.
That it is Technical Tuesday.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
You know what I want to do? I want to have the Technical Tuesday music for the old Mario Brothers. Dun, 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 dun,
Pedro, if you talk during the intro, it ruins it.
Oh, they can do it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I thought it was played.
Pedro Garcia, the crypto chart analyst and segment ruiner du jour. It's the second time I've used that.
This guy with the thumbs.
Anyways,
Clueless.
Technical Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. We always start off every show with a Bitcoin review, but today we get a little detail about the world's leading indicators, though, how they affect your day trading bags or your overall investment bags and strategy. Pedro, what's going on with Bitcoin?
Excellent. So we had a couple things we talked about yesterday. One was that we're going up. We saw it go up on Sunday and Monday. And I said we're starting to see a sell-off. Now, this is the thing I said. Don't get all freaked out. We're going to come down to that 8-period moving average. It's sitting around this area right here for this zone. So I didn't really put this zone in. I should have done it, but that would have been really dope. But I'm expecting either this area or potentially coming back down to that 111 area as a pullback to see it go. And as you said, a liquidity sweep where they go through and they hit everybody's stop so they can fill up their bags and continue it back up. And many of you traders know that feeling, and my condolence. But I did tell you. So it's what's fun, and this is what happens. Now, there are a few things here that we want to pay attention to. One, we want to see volume, right? As we're starting to see it get stronger here, we want to see volume to the upside. So we saw the sell-off come in at the morning and into the east. So we saw the sell-off coming from yesterday. What was cool about it is this, is as it's selling off, we saw this big candle right here. Look at this amount of volume coming in around 5 o'clock. This is a typical move of them selling the market off, okay? But then trying to put the positions in. So they have a small, oh yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. So this little candle right here, right? This is them saying, and if you follow it down here, you see this big old amount of volume here. If you notice, we ended red, but we did not end strong, right? Like it didn't sit there and put a big old red candle in, right, to show that it's really in control. This was a lot of battling. And so when you go into the smaller details of that candle, which we're going to go do here in a second, you'll be able to sit there and see we have quite a bit of consolidation with a lot of green big candles. And so this area here is an indication of saying, hey, we're putting in our position to push it back up. And this is where that 8-period moving average is sitting right here. So you can see that in the morning, and this is going to be part of our trade wave when we get it up and running, I'll sit there and say, look, guys, look for it to go up. We want to see it clear the 8-period moving average, which I always talk about. Right here is where we would have been getting in, and our stop would have been roughly around that 200-period moving average. So it would have been a short play, but either way, and if it would have continued, it would have continued. Our stop would have been about right here to here. This is where our risk would have been, and then we would have said, all right, cool. And at the close of the 8, we out like Donkey Kong. Made our money. Thank you for the day. Right. First quick, 30 minutes, hour, made our money. Have a good day. Now, what's interesting is this. I always bring this up when it comes down to it. As we were moving up, you can see that they're definitely putting in a lot of starting to see these buyer wicks here, buyer wick, buyer wick, buyer wick, buyer wick, right? We can see that they're putting in at these low levels. Once they hit that 8-period moving average, that they're definitely putting in a position to push it back up. Now, are they going to do it right now? Maybe not. This is the reason why I say this is if you have an influx, a bunch of buyers, well, again, they can short that, push that down to that 20-period moving average on the daily candle, and then push it back up. So with that said, it literally played kind of right into our hand that we were expecting. Now we're starting to bounce off that 200-period moving average here, or excuse me, daily 8-period moving average. And so we'll see what happens as we continue here. But I think we'll probably see it push back up. Now, as it was falling down here on these levels, we weren't seeing a lot of buyer or a lot of seller wicks. You can see here, there's not a lot of seller wicks as we were literally coming down. So which means that it's predominantly hardly any resistance on up to the upside. And that's a good sign, saying that if it hits a higher time frame, everybody knows higher time frames are stronger. And if it hits a zone, right, or a moving average or a resistance level or I use Bollinger Bands or whatever thing that you typically use for a reversal sign. If it hits those, the higher time frame it is, we see typically a stronger push. And you can see that's actually what's happening here. So you saw the push down, you saw them putting in the demand wicks, and then it hit a higher time frame. For me, my SMA 8, and then now we're seeing it starting to push back up. So I'm personally still looking roughly around this area here. Like I've talked about that like 111 to about that 117 area. We're going to see what happens there, but that's where I think we're going to come down to. It's going to put that weekly, the weekly demand wick here, as you see, be a nice little weekly demand wick as it comes down. And then we could see it potentially push back up. Like I said, hopefully, I'd love to see by the end of the week it hit that 130. That would be dope. Let's go. So that's what I expect to see with the
dope at 130.
Yeah, 130, baby. Shoot. I mean, you can see it go from last week from 109 to 130. I mean, you're going to start seeing real money. People are going to be like, oh, is it happening? And then all of a sudden people are like, well, this is a little too expensive. Maybe I could buy one of the other coins. And then, what are we going to see? A Bitcoin or a
altcoin.
Yeah,
well, Bitcoin dominance did slip today. And Pedro, before you move off Bitcoin to the next thing,
okay.
I have a...
We all slough off.
I brought this up earlier, and someone else mentioned this today, and I looked at that, and I was like, that's interesting. Now, Bitcoin is up. Let's just say it's up. You know, it's down from yesterday, but overall, it's up. You know what it's not up against? It's not the Bitcoin to euro pair is relatively stagnant. In the past year, Bitcoin has gone up a lot. I shouldn't say a year, since the beginning of the year. But against the euro, it's only gone up from 102,000 to 104,000 euros. And now, in that time, we've seen the dollar devalue, right? So, is the gain in Bitcoin just taking into account the dollar devaluation? Or is there something other at play for that spread? I mean, it's more than my mind can comprehend it, because there's 8 bazillion inputs into both of those. But if you look at the BTC to euro price, it's only gone from 102 to 104 since January. Yet, Bitcoin has gone from 80 to 120. Interesting, huh?
No, that makes sense, completely sense. Because if the store of value that you're having, the underlying value goes up, which we saw the euro go up because the U.S. dollar went down. The euro dollar exchange and how it's built, it is about three to four primary, or actually it's three primary currencies: yen, euro dollar, and what is the other one?
Wait. What, I'm sorry. What'd you say? The euro is
our dollar that we talking about, the euro, the dollar index.
Yep.
Right. That we follow, DYX, the Dixie, is comprised of 4 currencies: the yen, the euro, and USD, and there was one other. I don't know why.
You mean USD versus 4 other ones
well, yes and no. So the way it's set up.
All right, let's not get into the details of that. Let's get,
because I was like going to say, because this is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this: it's because the dollar went down, the Dixie went down, our dollar went down. We saw the sell-off go in. The euro went up. Because the euro goes up, right? If an underlying asset goes up, okay, meaning the euro, and it's being pegged against the dollar.
Yes.
Or the euro are being pegged again, or Bitcoin is being pegged against the dollar. Then what will happen is, it will mitigate the growth, but it doesn't necessarily mean it didn't grow. If we see a strong dollar starting to come in, well, then that will mean, because Bitcoin will stay the same. Bitcoin
Bitcoin is Bitcoin.
Well, not more important, but as Saylor says, it is going to be the fundamental layer.
Hey, hold on. Let me stop here. We're getting too deep into thought process here.
Well, you're asking me a question, bro.
Wait,
and you're
right, but I'm leading you, trying to lead you somewhere.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And trying to lead you into, say, just why is it different? Not into the, say, oh, I drove to the store today. Well, the asphalt's comprised of these chemicals, and the tire, I just want to say, the road was fast. It's dry. No, my point is that yes, I understand what you're telling me about there. But, so, is Bitcoin appreciating because people like you and me and Joe Worker in the US are telling their investment brokers, their retirement people, or whatever, or their phones, put money in Bitcoin? Or is it appreciating simply because the Forex traders are hedging the dollar and euro variation via
Both.
Bitcoin, just like they hedge everything else?
Both. It's both. It's not one or the other. It's both. Because
and I hadn't considered that. That's why I sat there and I go, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, well, if you can account for the devaluation of the dollar in the increase in Bitcoin price, but euro is the same, I was like, that means the Forex people are playing the Bitcoin to euro pairs also, and I'm like, hadn't considered that yet, and I should have. They play it. The Forex guys play everything. I mean, they're the tip of the spear in the World Economic Trading scheme,
yes, and and ultimately, like when you look at the full Bitcoin is the ground floor, and as things move, and especially that because it's not just a seesaw, but I would almost say it's like, have you seen those 3-sided seesaws?
No.
Have you seen those? Where like, or they're 4-sided. One person will hit this, but it also hits the one on this. It's like you have a lane, you have something like this, and then another side like this, and they play, and it's really cool to actually see, and they move like this, and it's really interesting. That's kind of like what's happening right now. With the seesaws, that it's just not one leg on a lever, right? But there's some new ones out there that are like this. I thought they were dope. This side will go down, but it will also affect this side right here, and then they move as well. That is basically what's happening with Bitcoin and a lot of the other currencies, and especially with what's happening with the US dollar. This is why I talked about earlier that with the BRICS nations and Saudi Arabia really starting to take lead there, right? Because from the financial standpoint, and the US we would actually back. We sit there and be like, all right. I mean, Trump is very centralist, but 10 years down the road, this is key. What I say, 10 years down the road, I could see people wanting to work with Brazil, see people wanting to work with India per se, because of the fact that America can't keep our dollar down. It affects the rest of the world a little too much, so that, and it also affects us. So this is where I've been looking at this, like the interplay, why Bitcoin will be that really medium of exchange in conjunction with the US dollar for the next probably 50 years, like 20 years to 50 years, as we start to see it really bounce off of that. But that's, and also people are lazy, and because people are lazy and they don't care to work this, like when I go to the gym, I try to tell these young guys, hey, and we're going to go over that today again, the US debt. I was like, hey, by the time I look at them and say, how old are you? And they go, I'm 23. Why you asked? I said, by the time you're 33, you won't be able to buy those shoes. And they look at me like, excuse me? And I'm like, nobody's telling you this. I'm telling you this. I'm trying to get your generation to wake up, because you're the largest voter block right now.
And the one that's got to pay all the bills.
And that's the next thing I go. And in 10 to 20 years, you're going to be the one, because you don't have assets. And right now you have to put, I go, how much, this kid was 27, 20. I go, you live with your mom or your dad? I go, it's totally okay. Do you? And he goes, no, I live on my own. And I go, okay, well, I would move in with your mom and dad. He looks at me and goes, why? I go, because you need to get assets. You need to get stocks. You need to buy crypto. You need to put your rent money into buying those things. You're blowing it on your own freedom. But if you do that, you have the ability to, as inflation starts to really pick up, your assets are going to increase with that, but your wages won't. And it will come a point in time when you get paid. As soon as you get paid, you will switch that over into Bitcoin. if we keep going if we keep going down this rabbit hole with
Right.
the U.S. debt. And he kind of looks at me, and I go, the whole entire thing with Trump and Elon, you familiar with Elon, right? He goes, yeah. I go, the whole entire new party that he's creating? He goes, yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And I looked at him, and I said, it's because he understands the circumstance that we're in today.
Right.
And so it was really interesting to see him kind of wake up and kind of go over things. And with that said, let's talk about what's going on in the world, and let's see what's happening with the stock market.
Hold on, I'm going to pause you 1 second there, and I'm going to let you run with all your stuff here, but I'm going to quickly get out Trump's tweet here to talk about that. But Crypto Week says, I was in a short trade at the time, not in Bitcoin, but in something else. And it doesn't track Bitcoin, but when Trump tweets, everything moves, right? Happy Crypto Week. The House will soon vote on a tremendous bill to make America the undisputed #1 leader. I can't do a Trump voice in digital assets. Nobody does it better. The Genius Act is going to put our great nation light years ahead of China, Europe, and all others who are trying blah, blah, blah. They just can't do it. Digital assets are future. Digital assets genius clarity will be part of making America great again, bigger and better than ever before. We are leading the world, yada, yada, yada. So he's telling us the Genius Act's going to pass and the Clarity Act is going to pass. And quickly, ladies and gentlemen, the Genius Act regulates stable coins and kind of what can be linked to the U.S. dollar and traded in the U.S. And the concern with people is that a stable coin could get that's owned by some company in Hong Kong could get more powerful, and that the Fed would not be able to, or the Treasury would not be able to regulate the dollar as closely as they could. And really, the markets should anyway, not the government. But anyway, the Clarity Act, ladies and gentlemen, is the division of enforcement of digital securities. Or let me just actually bring up the page here. No, I'll just talk about it. Anyway, the Clarity Act is an act that separates the SEC and the CFTC, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, roles into anything that's declared a digital security. Say like they tokenize Ford stock. Ford stock is a security. So in other words, if the underlying thing is a security, the SEC will have the right to regulate the tokenized version of that. However, if it's a derivative of a futures act that's already regulated by the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, still a tokenized asset, but the underlying thing is regulated by the CFTC, that'll continue to be regulated by the CFTC. And it's just making it very clear where these things land, because before these agencies were really a mess and fighting with each other. It'll pretty much end the regulation by enforcement, because it will put rules in place for this type of stuff. So anyway, those two things will get voted on this week. I hope to see both of them pass. There's the other bill I mentioned yesterday was basically the Anti-State Surveillance Act, which bans CBDCs and other kind of government registries of your money, that type of stuff. So let's watch. It's Crypto Week, as exclaimed, claimed, and proclaimed. Trying to remember how a guy said it. By the House Financial Services Committee, most important committee regarding finance in the United States Congress. The Senate Banking Committee is important, but the House is where all the financial bills start. Taxes start, financial bills, all that. So that committee, and if they declare it's Crypto Week, the president's tweeting about Crypto Week, well, gosh darn it, Pedro, it's Crypto Week, and good things are going to happen this week. So pay attention to those things, because all of them are good stuff. There's nuances that everyone's not going to like. Doesn't matter. We got to get the level playing field out there, and then we'll tweak things later. With that note, back to Technical Tuesday, Pedro.
So with that, we've talked about a potential slowdown in volume coming into the market. As we can see here, a slowdown. And this is the global market. This is the top stocks around the world put together, put into this ETF. And so you can take part in this if you would like to. But like I've talked about, it coming back down to these levels here, which is going to be that 161 to the 160. And just simply because you're seeing a slowdown in job market and labor hours worked and increase in wages. We're seeing the private sector kind of become decimated. Most people don't know about it because, well, they kind of don't pay attention to the news. They just think that it's a depression in their world. This is what's happening. And so when America doesn't spend, right, one being we saw because of the tariffs, things are higher for the rest of the world. And when that happens, then we typically buy local. But if there's this waiting period that we need to actually get through. So this is this little kind of waiting period that we're going to see. But if this market goes down, the rest of the market in the world will typically follow this, because this is kind of one and the same.
Hey, Joe, what chart do you have up there?
This is the
global stock market.
Yeah, it's global, but it's at the URTH is the ticker. That is Uniform Romeo Tango Hilo, or hotel, excuse me.
I just put global stock value.
So it's cool. This is what's happening. Next, let's check out the S&P 500. So S&P 500, we've seen the volume really kind of die off. We talked about this for a while now. And the same thing that we're seeing here, kind of into June and July. Now, granted, it is summertime, so it could be just that it's dropping off here, but we are seeing it kind of really see. I mean, you can see right here, we've had this amount roughly with the volume. And you can see here over the last, month and a half, that it's just kind of like just dying off. So I think it's too high, and I think they're going to drop it again. With this said, I think this is when we might see the divergence between the Nasdaq and Bitcoin as we come into this bull market for crypto. And my biggest thing is are we going to see the normal 70, 60, 70% sell off in the bear market within crypto, or because institutions will be involved that they're not going to allow it? That in itself is Bitcoin's greatest strength, is the sell-off of a BTC, of it getting down to, like, I'm expecting BTC to get up to about 1, depending on where we really sit, but I think we're going to get up to 300,000 to 250, 300,000, and then see it come back and sit around that 60,000, which was the previous high of last. And so we'll see it push up, come back down, and see it. But I don't know if institutions are going to allow it to really come back down to that, or are they going to keep it about that 20% retracement, maybe 30% retracement. So we'll see what happens when we get there. But with that said, I do think we will see a divergence between Bitcoin and the stock market within the Nasdaq. But when it comes to the stock market here, I'm a little timid on just the fact that I think we're going to see a sell-off, at least come back down to that 50-period moving average, sitting at the 6,000 area. At that level here, that 6,000 area, this is going to be the base of this of the last, when was this, June rally. We saw the push through over the last month, over the last month. But in particular, this area here, you have a weekly area and a monthly area. And so for me, I think there's a lot of buyers sitting down there that we could expect to see it come down. At the same time, you also have that weekly 8, or the monthly 8 sitting right here on the 59, 56. And remember, we talked about the next 6 months, right? The 3-month candle and the 6-month candle. Come on. And it's just not being cool. Be cool, honey bunny. Be cool. Hang on, let me switch. There you are. Boom. So we saw it go up. We talked about the 6-month candle here. We're going up first, and we haven't put that demand wick in. So that's why I'm coming down here to the weekly. We picked up buyers right here on that 6-month candle when the tariff talk happened, where we saw it pull back into that 48.40, which we talked about testing that 8-period moving average in the beginning of the year. In the same sense, I think we're going up first to go down to go back up. And so during this time period, this is where I'm looking down at that 58 mark, 58, 6,000 mark area to see it pull back. And I believe that would be, what is it, 60, 10. So it'd be about a 5% pullback if it does do that. But I'm seeing that. That's kind of what I'm expecting to see here over the next month to 2 months potentially, and then see it consolidate, go sideways, and move back up. With that said, we want to look at the Nasdaq and see how the Nasdaq is going to play here. And we're watching the Nasdaq again on the 6 month. And you're like, Pedro, why do you care about the 6 month? Because the market moves in increments, right? And so I look at it.
Pedro, why do you care about the 6 month?
Because I look at the market as a 1 year chart. Then I look at it as a 6 month chart, and then I look at it a 3 month chart, and then I look at a 1 month chart. They all correlate with each other. Okay, they all play off each other, like how we all use smaller time frames with when it comes to trying to understand the daily trend, right? So you can get in on it and capture that day trade. Well, you can take that same idea of using multiple time frames and charts, and you can take it into the macro sense for the yearly, and you can sit there and spread it out. So you would simply go, okay, we know it's a year chart. It's going to create a demand wick, it's going to create the body, and it's going to create the supply wick. And so you look at whatever mechanism that you use for your technicals, and you can sit there and say, this is going to most likely act as resistance. This is most likely going to act as support. These are the zones, or whatever thing that you use for zones, whether that is liquidity pools or a ICT trading, or if you use more of a fundamental, but just understand that it's going to trade in a certain way on a technical side. And so use those to be able to look at over a year, 6 month, 3 month, 1 month, weekly and daily. And watching that play there will actually help you out to understand the full scope of what's actually happening. So this is why you're like, well, how did Pedro call that? It's literally when I'm looking at a 6 month chart. It's not like I'm not a rocket scientist, right? I'm not, you guys can tell I mix up my words. I'm not educated, but I've come to understand that.
Yeah, you're the teacher.
I'm sorry for you guys.
And in related news, everyone watching DYOR Live goes broke.
Not yet, and we're quite ahead. And so we play everything for fun, but we also keep a serious side to this because that's how it needs to be, right? Kind of open hand, but I open clenched hand, right? That's how you trade. You don't marry everything, you just date it, and you're looking to just take profit in the areas that once it's completed its cycle. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is we have that 6 month chart now since we're in July, and you can see here that we went up first. It's creating that supply wick, and I think we're going to come down. Once we start to come down, then this is where I think it's going to really peak out. We just stopped out everybody above here. They just picked up their stuff, and so it's potentially to come down. When you look at that 3 month, it's a similar situation. Your 1 month, similar situation. So that's why I think we're going to see a bit of a pullback here, at least a 5% pullback to gauge. And it's like I said, in the same way, the Nasdaq is potentially could be like that because of the tech stuff. Now, our tech companies are really kind of hurting in a sense where it's like we know that China right now is really, I wouldn't say holding back on our rare earth minerals, but they're not necessarily freely opening up to us because of the geopolitical tensions between Trump and the CCP and how they manipulate their own economy for their own benefit, which makes sense. If we could do that, we would too as well. I mean, I guess we're kind of doing it.
We kind of do that anyway, but not to the extent they are.
Yeah. And so in the same sense, I'm expecting to see a bit of a pullback here again. A 5% would typically be, what would that be? Boom. It'd be 2,300. And so it would be 1,000, about 1,200. So yeah, it's about right. We can see this. It might even go down a little bit further on this, but on that, I'm really looking. Yeah, probably be right here. Same zone area is what you would expect to see here.
while Pedro's figuring that, ladies and gentlemen, while Pedro's figuring that out, welcome to everyone watch us on the various platforms that we broadcast on. Thanks everyone, as usual, on Rumble. If you could do us a favor, follow us. It helps. It's not just that we're trying to pump up numbers and say we got so many followers. By you following us, it tells the algorithm to put our show in more people's feeds. That's how it does it. And those like buttons, same thing. And so it's not a materialistic thing or an ego thing saying like us, we got more likes. It actually shows the algorithm whose show is popular. And we've been quite popular lately on Rumble, so we'd appreciate if you guys could help that. Apparently, we're not so much today, Pedro, but
nice.
It's a strange day today. I'll try and get the word out here while you're doing some other Technical Tuesday stuff.
Excellent. All right, so let's check out a few more other things here. Now, we've been talking about bonds here, and I expect bonds to go down, bonds to go up and yields to go down. Primarily because you can actually see the volume coming in. Now, we're watching bonds kind of sell off here.
Which kind of bonds? U.S. bonds?
Yes, yeah, U.S. bonds. So normally I go right into the yields, but we're going into the bonds right now. So this is the monthly. I thought we were going to be going up here. We put in. I thought we maybe might come down a little bit into the month, but we're actually having a pretty steep pullback. I thought we were going to come in up here. We were around here, and I said expected to pull back. Well, I guess not. Now I'm looking at the daily chart. Yeah, no, I said it could potentially come back down to this area. So I guess it's happening what we're expected. I just thought we were going to see it push back up from here. I still am like at the 110 area is really where the 110.19 area is really what I'm looking at potentially to come back down into, and then to push back up. We'll see what happens, but I'm almost positive we're going to push back up just simply because a lot of the news coming out within the jobs, and I'm talking private sector jobs that really fund the economy, and it's not the government jobs. It's not government jobs that stimulate real growth, right? Government jobs are like ice running around a track that's a hot track. It basically eats in on itself, but it does put money into the economy. Here in America, because we're more of a capitalist society, and we base our economy on real growth, not like manufacturing growth by going out and building buildings and cities that, for lack of a better word, nobody really lives in, right? And then the government steps in and then subsidizes that, and then allows you to completely destroy those buildings, right, to build it up again, so you can sit there and say we've had real growth again. But I'm talking, because we're a capitalist society, if you outlay money, you could be hurt by it, right? Because you could go bankrupt. So you got to make sure there's real demand. And so this is where we're seeing, I expect to see, because of what's happening in America, real growth being, we're going to be seeing the manufacturing coming back here. Those agreements that Trump made with a lot of those nations or companies in other nations to come into America to do business and to set up established
places of business and employ Americans and pay taxes.
Basically. So this is why I'm expecting us to see a bond rally here go up. We're seeing it kind of sell off here, especially kind of the 10-year kind of going below here. But we're still putting in we put in a high here. We still got our higher low here. What's going on?
Is that your computer?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I thought I clicked a button on mine, and I'm like, I'm looking at another video, and I'm like, the words aren't matching what they're saying.
Yeah. Boom. So I expect this to potentially be bouncing off of that weekly and monthly 8 here. You can see it's actually starting to fold here over. So potentially.
Welcome, Florida Medicare broker. Welcome to the house. Good to see you again, coming to us from South Florida. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. You're watching us here on Technical Tuesday. We get a little deep into the weeds on the world's technical indicators. But if you've got something special for us that you want us to look into, we'll get to that after Pedro hits all those world economic indicators.
Good to have you, sir. Or ma'am.
Yeah.
Was it a ma'am or
both?
Oh, man, I forget now. I think you were a guy, but I could be wrong. And no offense if you want to.
Hey, Pedro, do you need to draw some lines now while I get to I refill my coffee here?
Yeah. No, you're good. So, I mean, you can go ahead and do that, and let me go ahead and put this in here real quick. I'm watching.
Wait, no, you missed the reference to coffee.
Oh, yes. Go ahead, please. Tell me about your coffee that you like very much.
Oh, let's get this thing started here. Need to better cover the label up on this one here. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, have you still not tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. Only 1,000 units. Yeah, that's right. It's scarce. It's scarce, just like Bitcoin. You get a bunch of different flavors with it too. That's right. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits harder than a CNN fact check. You're getting the smooth medium roast. And lastly, you're getting the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for a clean energy and laser focus. No crash. No. It's all single origin, small batch, toxin-free, and mold-free. Plus, and as I always say, this is my favorite part, plus you're also getting a gold spoon because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. No. Can't have that. And you're also getting a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and, of course, stir up your mother-in-law's political views. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Pedro, here's a spoiler. It is worth it. That's right. So go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe. And if you can see right next to me here, there's a QR code. If you're a viewer here, click that QR code. That also tells the great algorithm that our audience is interested in what we're talking about. And being interested in advertisers, as you know, helps us all along here, right, ladies and gentlemen? So also in your comment section, there'll be a little thing here that's saying you can click on it to go see what it's all about. And also in the description of this on Rumble and YouTube, there will be a link as well. So go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Thank you to 1775 for being a segment sponsor on our show.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Back to the Technical Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen.
Back to the Technical
You about did it, didn't you? About to say back to life, back to reality.
Anyways,
I got a quick white man's dance in there with the overbite.
Oh yeah, bro, get it. Yeah. Get it. Yeah.
Oh.
You know, it's okay.
Yeah.
That's weird. So let's keep moving forward here. Okay, so jumping back here into the bonds, seeing a couple areas. We're still trading this area. Here's the thing. We know that JP Morgan is buying bonds. Like, we know that. We can see it. Yet they're out there saying, well, but here's the thing. But Jamie Dimon is out there saying bonds are bad. Stay away from them. Don't be doing this. So it's almost like this double talk
that company's so vast. There's traders in there say, I have to buy bonds. I have to cover my yada yada, blah, blah, blah. I mean, JP Morgan employs what, 50 million people and 80 trillion bazillion dollars in debt? I mean, in assets, not debt.
They're a beast up for a company, but it's more than that. If we're going to see inflation, right, which I don't think we're going to see inflation the way as most people think, through the tariff talk, then you don't want to own bonds, right? Because inflation goes up and you get in at 3%. We see inflation get above 3%. You're losing money,
right?
right?
You're losing the
wanna
economic opportunity of that money.
And also, because of that, you're kind of upside down, and because you're literally losing money because inflation is going up above what your rate that you're getting off that bond, then what happens is you then don't have money to pay people certain things, and you can deploy that cash. Yet they're going through and they're buying bonds. So there's this double talk here. So this is why I'm sitting there saying we should see bonds step in and get gone. We already know that many of the stablecoin with the Stablecoin Act, they're going to be buying bonds. We know that, right? They've already said that we're buying bonds, as well as we're going to keep buying bonds to stabilize their.
They need that safety. They need that AAA triple plus, reserve to back their dollar.
Basically, taxpayers' backs is really what it is, right? It's
so heavy tether. And
I hate to say it like this, but when I look at what's actually happening with the U.S. debt and what's actually happening there, which is why we're going to go into here in a second, it would make sense that if they're going to print more money, because it looks like they're going to be printing more money, right, to get this thing up and running for the big beautiful bill, what isn't correlated with that inflation. But if there's not economic stimulation within it, you get no real big boom in the economy. So this is where it's just like this backwards, like back and forth, where it's just like, what do you do? What's actually happening here? So this is where I'm looking at certain things going, if I'm going to begin in this trade, I would rather be in the money here as we're watching it come down. And if we have real economic growth, we should not have inflation per se that gets out of whack, right? So this is where I think what JP Morgan is doing as a bank, as well as many of the other banks, the high level banks are doing, is that they're like, well, if there's going to be real growth here, we shouldn't see inflation happen the way we saw, back in COVID. And so this is where it's this counterbalance situation going on. If we also see a US dollar go up, that's going to also affect global trade and things like that. Our global trade and what's happening within the tariff talk. We've talked about the numerous tariffs that are actually happening throughout the world. And so it's definitely going to be a tricky situation. But overall, I think we will see in 6 months, right, a big push up. But I think we got to come down first. And this is where I'm playing. This is kind of like how I'm playing my bags here. So let's go into the US debt here real quick, and then I'll explain this aspect behind it. Also, guys, if you have any questions, or if you just think I'm full of malarkey, please say it. I have no problem.
Malarkey spewer.
Yep, and I'm cool with it. Like I want to hear your guys' view. I sit and I do a lot of play here mentally. I go over things and I really try to make sure that I can, but I can't see everything. And I've had people kind of point things out to me like, well, you also forget this. And I'm like, you're right. But then also I go, well, no, I actually took that into account. But either way, I want to know if you think I'm missing something to point it out. I really do. I have no problem with somebody sitting there saying, but you know what you're talking about. Even though I'm majority of the time right. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. Just being honest, right? So looking at this, why is this not moving?
I've still got the dollar index. You've still got the dollar index chart on the feed.
I know, for whatever reason, this isn't.
Welcome to everyone watching on Rumble. Thanks for joining us. Remember, feel free to share this with someone in your sphere of influence. Just say, hey, check these dudes out, help them out. Watch a show. Remember, it's an interactive show. We take questions and we give answers.
And you may like the answers and you may not. Just remember, if you do like what I'm saying, one of the things you could do is also understand that nobody's is as smart as the guy who agrees with you. So don't take it too serious.
Oh, speaking of, I just got notified that there are some new Swamp Creature episodes coming out. So
nice.
they just recorded some, and I will be dropping those into the DYOR Media premiere roll here in the upcoming few days.
I like it.
For those that don't know, Crypto Swamp Creatures is another show on the DYOR Media Network in which Chris Alexander and Justin Wallin talk about where crypto and digital assets meets Washington, D.C. And they started the show when the Biden administration was in power, so it's very, very interesting on the fight to get things recognized and regulated. And now it's morphed into how can we make this even better, and the nuances of what's going on in Washington, D.C. Very interesting show. Stay tuned for it. Mikester immediately comes up. Uniswap? Well, as usual, we'll get to Uniswap after the list of stuff we got to get to is done here today.
Okay, I think I just realized. Okay, I have way too much playing right now.
All right, well, while Pedro's doing, I'm going to read this. Opinions do not represent those of DYOR Media Network. This is the educational video. This is not financial advice, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to edutain you. We're educating you through knowledge and entertainment. And so, as always, nothing we say here is financial advice. Always consult licensed and professional people for actual advice on where to put your money. Or make your own decisions.
I agree with that. Okay, this is now working. Alrighty. I thought I was gonna have to go through and cancel everything. Okay, so you can see here. Now, one of the things I wanted to bring up here is our market, our debt is growing at literally about 25% faster than our GDP. So if our GDP starts to pick up, okay, it's not going to pick up overnight, right? Like it's not like boom, okay, boom, it's time to push. But if we can see this thing pick up, what you can play off of is we should see an economy that will start to draw in more people who want to invest in the US if we don't piss them off too much, right? I've talked about how Brazil and many of the BRIC nations, even though they're a bunch of frenemies coming together, you do have this side that's understand that they produce goods and services. And if they get a big enough population that starts to grow because they feel secure within themselves, then this is where you could see things really start to get almost turned bad for America. Now, again, this is not a popular belief. Most people don't even like to hear this talk. But this reality is when I'm looking at this market, I'm looking to see, will we have enough buyers around the world if we start to sell things that the people want to come and buy it? I talked about how the US dollar, it needs to go up but I don't think it's going to go back up to like the 109. I think we're going to see it get back up to that 104 area that we've been talking about. We talked about, and this, we'll go to the US dollar here in a second here. But as we start to, if we can get rates to drop, bonds to go up, it will slow down this debt here, right? And at this point right now, we are 1 trillion, or actually, when you look at the difference between the debt and the GDP, the GDP is about 2.3. Right, over the last 10 years, we've seen it increase or grow at a 2.3% on average. But we've been watching the U.S. debt jump at, not I'm going to call it an exponential level, but we're watching the U.S. debt really starting to pick up about a 3.2%, like annually compounded, and that's about 25% higher than what we have with the U.S. debt, or not the U.S. debt, but the GDP. And the reason why this is important is if we can generate real income coming into this market, just buy Bitcoin and everything will be fine. Yes and no, because again,
hold on, finish your thought. Finish your thought.
All right, yeah. So if America can generate real income, and I always talk about the differences between government employees, right, and private sector employees. These private sector employees pay for these government employees. And we know that we need about 10% of the people right now to actually work. You need about 10 to 15% of the people to run the economy. And so, unfortunately, the lower, the better, right? If we can have the majority of these guys start to come in and literally start to see us decrease in employees for the government, they will go into private sector. This will make this go higher, which will then produce more taxes. And so if we see that growth, this then right here should go higher. Excuse me, this right here should slow down. That's the key, is that we want to see this slow down, and we want to see this right here. Come on, dog.
Where'd your mouse go? Lost it.
It's okay. We're good. And we want to see this right here.
Aha. Oh, look at you changing the colors. I see what was going on there.
Yeah, yeah. You can see right here. We want to see that speed up. If this starts to happen, we will, and I do expect this, but again, it's just going to be this seesaw effect, how it works. Okay, so this is why I'm saying we should expect bonds to increase. We should see yields come down. Now, right now, the average yield for the U.S. debt is, I think it was like 3.5% was the average interest rate on the U.S. debt, which again is above what we're seeing with inflation, or it's about where inflation is sitting. And so the banksters are trying to kind of push America into a place. So this is why Trump keeps telling Jerome Powell, you're costing America a lot of money. Stop playing games, right? And so this is where we're seeing that battle happening, which is really interesting.
And on that note, today the Consumer Price Index numbers were released, and they were fairly much nothing burger. The market anticipated that they was going to go up. And they went up 2.7%, and which lowers the odds that the Fed will reduce rates. The consumer price index is going up. It means it's a push on inflation. Jerome Powell has said, "Look, I'm worried about inflation because of tariffs. We're going to hold the rates a little higher than our other nations in the Western nations because we may see it, we may not." He said, "We got to find out." And the economy's moving along okay now. And we don't want to overheat it. And then today, the consumer price index comes out a little higher than expected. Let me rephrase that. It came out as expected, and it was higher. So that the rates, or the what's that website? The FedWatch website, which people rate the likelihood of the Fed changing rates, is all the way down to really low rates. Like 0 for the next month, and then by September it's only 15%, I think, that they will lower the rates. So the odds are we're still going to have this same rates and without them changing.
Well, here's the thing I bring up is that they're not. I've talked about this now multiple times. I think nations around the world who don't like us, who want to see America basically implode in on itself, right, are out there actually bidding up the chart. And I know I sound like a conspiracy theorist when I say this, but you can see we went over it 2 weeks ago. We'll probably go over it again and next week, Technical Tuesday. But that reality is when I look at what we're seeing, it doesn't make sense to me. And especially when it comes to the food, especially when it comes to wood, when it comes to these situations that we use, this is the base level. That's the base level. And then everything else is built on that. And so when I'm looking at that, it seems as if things are being played. Like, seems like America's being played. And the the Fed, I think they very much understand that, but they're going to use it because, again, the Fed looks to make money. They're an entity. They are a private entity and a government entity, but they're also very much private. They have shareholders, and they do put out a dividend to their shareholders, and so they do try to make money. It's important to understand that. They have been negative. They have been broke for about 2.5, 3 years, right? And so now they're trying to bring money in. And so this is just an interesting situation that we're in. Now, ultimately, if we can get this to slow down and see this thing to pick up, that's the thing that we're really looking at. And there's a lot of numbers here. But my biggest thing is if we can see a push within people buying and selling based off a freed up cash that is no longer being taxed, right? That is going to affect this as well. But I think we'll also see more of an economic boom that correlates there. So with that, boom, crypto Mike, ooh, the debt clock. Boom. Okay, so that's it. Now let's look at the dollar here and how it's going to affect this. Boom. Now, if the US dollar starts to push up, right? I talked about us being around that 100 to 95 area. That's the area that's the sweet spot for America. Ultimately, if we can stay in this 100 range, I think we're going to get up to about 103, either like that 100 to 103 area is where we go. There is a supply area about that 104 area here. But I think we're going to stay more or less this. I'm giving us kind of a broad range here because it's going to do some price discovery. And in the price discovery, we should see it kind of bounce back and forth, but ultimately settle around that 101, 100 area. We talked about it back here in November, right? Or excuse me, not November, but in January. It went from here, and we expected this stuff here. We drew these lines long before this even happened, saying that we should expect it to see come down here. Now this pullback here is coming back to that 50. It's going to be the 100 area or $100 area. So I expect it to kind of pull back down and then continue up until we get higher here. This has an effect with us because as the US dollar starts to push and we start to see global trade pick up, and this is partly because of this push up is partly because we're starting to see global trade pick up again. We're starting to see things really push up. And in this process, there's going to be a need for USD. As USD really, again, this is short term. We've talked about midterm and long term. Midterm is typically 3 to 5, 3 to 7 years. Long term is anything 7 to 10 years out. When I talk about BTC becoming a medium of exchange, that correlates with the US dollar, as people will decide whether they want to use USD or use BTC, right? It's going to be one of the things. And I think there's going to be an amalgamation of the two, kind of like we see with the euro dollar, and then ultimately be based off of BTC potentially in 20, 30 years. As we start to move off or away from USDT, because it can get inflated for the rest of the world. Because ultimately, sooner or later, the rest of the world is going to be like, F that, dude.
But that's a good point. Eventually, stable coins will have to figure out a way. I mean, no doubt, stable coins are going to get very dominant the next year, as they become legally accepted for everything. But they're still linked to the US dollar. If the world wants to move to a Bitcoin reserve, that you're going to need to have you can't have Bitcoin because its transaction speed is just not fast enough. You're going to need, they have,
hybrid.
You're going to need. I mean, they have the Lightning Network, but that's not gonna do it. They need a stable coin backed by Bitcoin. That's the strength of Tether. I mean, I know we have Bitcoin itself, but like Michael Saylor said, that's not going to work. It'll be the ultimate settlement layer, but there'll be other settlement layers above it that work faster or for different needs.
And it's important to understand that those different needs, right? But ultimately, I'm not a BTC maximalist, but there are other options out there in addition to BTC, right? That are decentralized, that very much, and we don't know what might come in the future. There could be a new BTC, right? And to say that, but it's something else could come along that
Absolutely.
is just as decentralized. It's quicker, it becomes adopted, and then BTC becomes an underlayer that you can almost have a BT, just like how I talked about the dollar index and how there's multiple currencies around the world that plays into this, right? I think we're going to have a cryptocurrency index, right? Like the US, like the Dixie index. And so they will interplay off each other. So you can allow the same type of Bretton Woods, like we will have a crypto Bretton Woods situation. And I say it not because Bretton Woods was kind of like what that jacked up America or jacked up the US dollar and pulled us away from the
For many of the viewers, the Bretton Woods Agreement was the agreement in which all the world's oil trade basically operates under the US dollar, the petrodollar type of thing.
Petrodollar, Dixie dollar, kind of one and the same, but it's not. I'm trying to stay away from. We're going to the store, and let me tell you about the
right. The concrete on the way there has a sand sand mixture.
So I was just like, when you said that again, I was like, dang it, I'm doing it again. Oh, and I do my best. Tom always says, you get too complicated sometimes, and I lose people. So I'm always trying to think, how do I simplify this? And I think I do a good job. I really do, right?
Many times you do, and other times I'm like, oh, he's talking how the asphalt's made again.
There's a lot of working parts, but it's really simple. Just understand, it's just supply and demand, and people want a stable currency to beat inflation. That's the best way to understand this. And so there's a lot of working parts as you move forward, but it's just look at it like, how do I beat inflation and get rich or stay wealthy? It's the best way to understand this. And so whatever the most efficient way to be able to do that is really the most efficient way that is most likely going to go. And money flows in the most easiest fashion, the most efficient fashion, which is blockchain.
I always say, it doesn't matter what your views on politics or views your national policies, what your regulations are, people vote with money. Ultimately, they want to take care of their family. They want to get more wealthy. They have some money, they want more of it. They've got a little bit in a jar, they want more of it in a jar. And they vote in a manner that does that. And that's why they vote for faster money. And that's why hey, blockchain's faster, cheaper, let's use it. But how does the blockchain work? I don't care. It's cheaper, faster, do it.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't even understand how their own money is made. You know, like the Federal Reserve is very complicated. Very complicated. And that's actually how your dollar is debt. I mean, that's how your dollar is made, because it's literally debt. Like, it's literally debt. Your dollar is literally debt. It is based off of your children's backs now. Straight up. That's it in a nutshell. Like, I hate to say, it's not based off of gold. And sooner or later, we'll see kind of that regime fall. But it's going to be like a dying cat. You know what I'm saying? If you've ever heard. Like, I live out kind of in the woods area. And sometimes a cat gets eaten and you hear it from miles by a wolf or something like that. It's just, you're like, ooh. Or it doesn't even matter. Any dying animal, man, if you hear it, dude, it is the most craziest sound. And then you just hear that eerie silence after it dies. And you're like, oh.
Then dang. You hear the wolf doing this. Pull a feather out its teeth.
Sounds
no, that's what the cat does. The cat eats the bird, pulls the feather out of his teeth, then the wolf eats the cat, pulls the tail out of it. Anyway.
It's that, all right. So let's check out the PGJ. We talked about how China should, as the market starts to move here. We talked about how we could see kind of a pullback happen down into this level here, and then to see it pushed back up to the higher levels. We had a small pullback kind of here, but it's starting to bounce up.
PGJ or PJG? Which one is that?
It's PGJ.
PGJ.
Yeah. It was funny. I was looking for a a ETF on China, and I was looking at it, and then I saw the PGJ, and I was like, oh, it's Pedro Garcia. Look at that, and then I was just like,
Junior, right? Good point.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, why do we care about the China stocks? Because a big part of our supply chain here in the U.S. is based on publicly traded companies in China, and their health is important. If their health goes in the tank, then our supply chain goes in the tank, and that type of stuff. And so, as you know, our economy is intrinsically connected to that of China, and as much as we say we don't want to buy, China and move all of our middle class jobs and ship our money over there, we do it every day. Every day you go to Walmart, every day you go to Canadian Tire, every day you go to any store whatsoever. You feed the supply chain that comes from China and or Asia itself. And this index here, the China stocks, represents the health of those companies. And not only that, but it gives one clue into how much the government is subsidizing their economy too. Because if their market's going up, yet everything else sucks, you're like, well, how does that happen? And then you look and you find that the government's increasing their debt by subsidizing many of these state-run companies. And I have to point out, many of their state-run companies are publicly traded companies now because they went public and everyone made money on it. But it's still ultimately controlled by the Chinese government. So it's just one of those good indicators of the health of everything going on.
So
back there, Pedro. There you go.
Yep. So we're pushing up here. I'm at this level. We've got a couple levels here that we could see it pull back here. One being the 50-period moving average, but two right here. Okay. I hope everything comes out all right. I'll be praying for you.
Just so you know, Pedro, I had said that only so you could hear it.
Oh, okay.
So I used that director-style voice.
Oh, that is so cool. You need to use that more with me. Like, dude, you're being too complicated. All right, dude.
All right, I'll be back in a few minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
But, all right, we're watching the supply area here where we could see it come down. I was expecting us to come down here, but we didn't. So we're pushing up here. Look at that 31 to 30 area. If you want to take part in this trade here, you can take part in it with this global network here. Or I don't know why I say global network. With the PGJ here, we could see it. You can either take an option on this or just simply short the ETF here. Now let's check out crude oil and let's check out gold. So crude oil, we've been watching. I made it pretty clear when Trump made that comment saying knock that crap off. It was really interesting. We saw it push up, but it was real interesting in that we saw the sell off here. We saw crude oil go back up for the first of the month. Now we're seeing it come back down, and I think we're going to see it most likely come back down to the lows here of that 55 to 59 area here. And kind of just stay stagnant there. It's below the 8-period moving average. We're seeing it really starting to kind of just kind of play around at this level here. So seeing it between that 66 to 55 is one of those things I think over the next 2-3 years is where it's most likely going to stay at from a cheap energy level. Also, I think a lot of people don't want to deal with Trump getting upset over this. So it's one of those things that I expect it to come back down to these lower levels. You just want to make sure that it stays above the 8-period daily moving average. If you're looking to short this, it's really important to also make sure you have good risk rewards. If you're playing the daily, like I said, I'm expecting to get back down to that 55 area here. So make sure your risk to reward is at least a 3-to-1, and then if it continues further, then take that trade. Make sure you manage it well. If you don't know how to manage your trades, go on YouTube. There's actually a lot of good stuff teaching people how to manage their trades or create protocols to create your managing of your trade. That allows you to even if you're wrong on a trade, if you know how to manage a trade, you can still stay profitable, right? Instead of letting it come back up and stop you out and take your money, right? That's why I'm always so I'm a huge proponent in taking your profit, making sure that you can keep running, and then build your account. Once your account is built, right, and you've got, let's say, you know, a few million in it, you then can go through and play that right. But the key point is you got to get there, right? You got to get to that level to build that. So that's about it in a nutshell. Let's go ahead here again. So crude oil, I talked about here, coming back down to that 55 area. We'll see what happens, but it's got to stay above that 8-period moving average for it to continue down. Your first resistance level is going to be the 100-day period moving average. Now, I don't expect this to act as much support, but my real support area is going to be that 64 area here, that 50-day period moving average. So you can sit there, that's like a 1-to-1 area right here. And if we bounce up, we can see then come back down to that 50-period moving average, which is sitting at that 64 area here. So that's what I kind of expect. I'm trying really hard not to draw weird things that make you all laugh at me, which is cool. I don't care about it, but dang it, come on. It's so hard to use this thing. I was actually trying the other day to make myself good at it. So I like this area right here, that 50-period moving average. Just kind of this whole entire area right here, that 50, 55, 30 to the 54, 60 area. Next, you can see here on crude oil. Now we talked about crude oil and silver here really just exceeding. And it was really interesting to see if they're going to really push silver. We talked about how either silver is going to go up or gold is going to go up and mitigate silver's push up, right? That was what we talked about last week. And it was kind of, it didn't happen. Really what we saw was gold came up to our area here and it basically kind of sold off. And I don't know. I can't sit there and say really what happened, right? But when you look at the precious metal area, it pulled back from last week, right? We talked about Technical Tuesday. When was it? Right here was this day, Tuesday of last week. Yeah. You can see we started to see the pickup here. My biggest thing is this: is that it's got to stay above that weekly 8. If we can stay, if it stays above this weekly as we see a pullback, I would expect it to push up even further, but it's got to stay above that weekly 8. It could just be simply consolidating, going down first at the beginning of the week to see it go back up at the end of the week. I've talked about us sitting in this area here, which is the 3100 to the 3400 area, just consolidating here at this level. That's kind of like what we saw this week here, just kind of pushed above the 8-period moving average, but it's not really showing a ton of conviction comparatively. When you look at the actual volume, you can see we're actually just below the volume of the average volume sitting here. So this is where I'm like, it's not really in a strong conviction to go back up. I think it's kind of waiting to see what happens with Israel, with everything that is happening with well, I forget what it's called. Israel, with Russia and Ukraine. Also, what's actually happening with Iran and their nukes and everything that correlates there. Also, potentially a downfall or a downturn in the economy. It's kind of just this kind of like juggling act here. So it's going to be really interesting to see how gold is going to play. So until we really get a resolution, if everything turns out good, I'd expect gold to go down, right, and come down and retap this area down here, like we've talked about, and potentially pull back to that 2800. If things start to escalate, go higher, or if things start to escalate and kind of get worse, I'd expect it to go higher and potentially see another parabolic move. Now, it was interesting, Trump comment saying, it was interesting to hear Trump's comment saying about Putin that he's a nice guy, but he's full of shit. Pardon my language. Right? But
and the rest of the world knew that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, surprise, Putin's full of shit. No kidding.
Yeah, and part of the language. But it was one of those moments that I can't believe he said that online. Like, I mean, he said that openly. Like, and I was like, we don't need another bomb, bro. Like, we don't need this. Like, you don't need to say that, dude. It's like going on the freaking airplane and saying, all this really is just aluminum and lift. That's all it is.
At any second, it could just fall out of the sky.
Yeah, exactly. It was like that.
Imagine if the roof popped off, just like that Hawaiian Airlines flight. Ah!
That's also when you see the guys in black come in and say, "Hey, we need you to kind of step outside. We need to talk to you about something," right?
My mama didn't raise no fool. I dug her rap.
Airplane, bro. It's such a good.
Brother don't want no help. Brother don't get no help. Shit.
If you know what he's talking about the movie. We've got a lot of older guys in here, Airplane. So, the funniest part for me when I was a kid was when they had the line when that girl started freaking out, and then the guy was like, "What are you doing? Stop!" And he started slapping her, and then there's just this huge line. Now, I guess that's domestic. No, it's not domestic.
The nuns with the brass knuckles.
Yeah.
Snap out of it,
dude. That always cracked me up. Anyways. Next, crude oil, or not crude oil, copper. So copper was acting really interesting last week. Saw the huge explosion. Obviously, Trump's statement saying there's going to be a 50% tariff on copper to the rest of the world if they didn't play, and obviously he meant it. So it's kind of stagnant here right now. If things start to get out of hand,
I still can't figure out the copper tariff. I just can't figure that one out. I mean, all it does is just contribute directly to inflation.
Literally.
We don't make enough copper. I mean, and we can't say tomorrow, oh, we'll make enough copper to satisfy demand. You got to take a long time to find copper mines. I'm sure we have plenty of them in the Rocky Mountains somewhere. Sure, we have plenty of them. But it takes a long time to find them, and then when you do find them, it takes a long time to get that stuff out of the earth. And then it takes even longer to refine it, and even longer to get to the housing market. Yeah, it's just. This is why Jerome Powell is like, this is why we're not lowering rates, because we think that's inflationary.
Yeah, it's kind of.
I can do a better Jerome Powell voice than I can Trump voice.
A Trump, dude. I tried to do the Trump. I suck at it. I've tried a couple times to kind of mimic it. It's leave it alone. So we want to be paying attention to, jumping back here to copper, the 8-period moving average. You can see here every time it tries to sell off, you see how we're putting in those demand wicks here right now? Like, that's not a good sign. That's a perfect sign of saying it's probably going to go higher here. If we see it go higher, I believe this is the highest it's ever been, which is crazy. That's just crazy, dude. And this right here, this is a great example of inflation. We saw copper back in the 90s, right? Sitting around less than $1.75 to $1.30. Look at this right here. This is a great example of literally inflation. Okay. So it was $1 back in the 90s, or we'll say low of 60. And you can see now it's ranged in the 20s, right? $5. You're talking, we've literally had a 5x in value within the housing market. You can see the, inflation really play a part here within copper, because it's a base metal. It's a base commodity that is needed. So it's one of those things, as I'm looking here, if this thing goes up, it's very hard to make a commodity like this go down. It's very hard.
Pedro, oil didn't 5x since then. Oil is kind of stayed the same.
Stagnant. Yeah, absolutely. This is
also
a base commodity.
You don't get more base commodity than oil.
Well, so this is what I'm gonna point out here.
It's because there's more competition in oil than in copper.
Yes, there's just a little bit more supply of crude oil than there is copper.
Right.
But again, you can see here that the base of it Like back in the 80s and 90s, we were hovering about $20 to $30 a barrel. You can see right here. It wasn't until the 2000s where we actually saw it go up. But the same type of, and also this right here of it going to negative 40, this screwed everything up, right? Like this was nuts. This was during COVID and when everything was shutting down, and nobody, since the world wasn't going to be traveling and nobody was going to be going anywhere, nobody was going to have a need for crude oil. So this is the sell-off. And I remember sitting there in front of the screen going, oh, it's hit zero. And it came low, it bounced up, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then all of a sudden, it just turned and dropped.
The month was ending, and people had to close their contracts or they were going to have to take delivery of oil. And so they had to pay to get out of those contracts instead of the other way around. And and so the price went negative.
It went to negative 40. Yeah, it went to negative 40. I mean, the people who bought it at this level, right, basically bought it for zero, right, and just held on to. A lot of them bought it at a low level, and then what happened? Because it went from basically negative 40 back up to what was it, like it's 20? Yeah, it was 18. It came up like to 18 ultimately, and watching that legitly was going like, holy moly, that thing, and the people.
The whole province of Alberta just freaked out. People were like, what? I gotta pay people to take my oil away? I don't get paid?
Yeah.
So what happens when there's a big imbalance in the market?
So you can see with crude oil, though, we still stayed around, $20 to $30 until the 2000s. Then we saw the push up, and then we came back down back in 2008. This action was actually caused by Goldman Sachs. This was actually an interesting situation back in 2008. And they actually got in trouble for manipulating the crude oil market as well as the gold market.
That's fast.
But hey, it's the way the game is played. But ultimately, where we're sitting right now between this 75 to 80, if you think about it, if we were at a $10 to $20 market, and now we're at 70 to 80, right? If you look at that now, granted, right now we're at that 50 to 60, you're at least at a 2x, 3x, right? From the lows from $10 to $50, and that's a 5x. And so when you look at copper sitting around that 75 to $1, and now it's around that $5. Still ranging about that same level. Now obviously you always have a spike and then you always have these lows, but if you look at the average of the trading range, this is where you can see roughly the same type of inflation that we've talked about, that the 5x inflation from the 90s. And most people don't understand that level. That's them stealing money from you. Literally.
Right.
All right. Them being the government to pay down its debt or to accrue their debt and allow it to grow. But that's for another day and another time. Okay. So the next level here I want to talk about is let's go over NVIDIA. NVIDIA is here, come on. It is a beast. I'm just shocked, bro. It gapped up today, and there was some good news that happened. But I'm expecting this to come down. This thing literally went from 163, dude, to 172. It had a $10 jump here. It's a 5%. That's almost a 5%
That's crazy
jump, dude. Nuts. And so I'm looking at this going it can't continue like this. The multiple on this is stupid. So I'm looking at that going, it's gonna have to sell off. And if NVIDIA sells off, it is the strongest stock in the Nasdaq that we could see sell off. So this is why I'm and we're seeing this with a lot of these. I mean, Tesla, for me, Tesla, it seems like just a better buy. Now, apart from the craziness that's happening within the leadership and what Elon is doing, And when you look at the idea of just what they're building with OpenAI or with XAI and his robotic, I think about long term as a stock. I'd rather buy, Tesla at 300, literally, because I mean, when I think about Nvidia is, even though it's 170, but like when you look at it, to me, it's just crazy. To me, at these all-time highs, man, it doesn't make sense to me. It's just, I mean, and they're doing some dope stuff, but I don't think they're worth that amount. I mean, it just depends. I think people, they're watching it go higher and higher and higher. It's just, I don't think it's good. It just basically mean it can just sell off, and at those levels, we're seeing Google step in, also pick up higher. It's got it again. Google is somewhat fair. It's not at these crazy all-time highs. I like it basically at these levels here. I thought we were going to see the 103 area. We didn't. We bounced off our level here, found support right here, and then it continued higher from that 150 to 147 area. But it's still not at its all-time high. So if we see some turnaround in the economy, I would expect to see them kind of sell off here. They're coming up to earnings up in June. No. When is this? July, sorry. This is going to be interesting what they report. Now, what was interesting, everybody knows, well, not everybody knows, but the next real fad, apart from cell phones, are going, when I say fad, I mean just where the market's turning to. It's going to be these smart glasses. It's cool to have a cell phone, which is cool, but it's much more cooler to actually have a pair of glasses that you can sit there and use in augmented reality. You can tell it, move it around while you're driving. It's going to be really interesting to see this happening. And I feel like this is what we're going to see in the near future. Probably within 3 to 5 years, the smart glass industry are going to take over. We've already seen other companies starting to get into it as well. I was reading another article. I forget the company, but it was kind of shocking that they actually came out with it as well. And I guess it's a really good product. I mean, it competes with Facebook's glasses. We also know that Google's coming out with it as well, with the smart glasses. So ultimately, we're going to see some form
Pedro
of...
go? Pedro, your camera disappeared.
No, I'm open. It's weird.
Internet. As you start, it was Zuckerberg. He was hitting the button. Get rid of Pedro. Nobody's as good as us.
But this is what I'm looking at to see. And so then, just like how CPUs and AI is really the forefront of tech, I would say the back end of tech is going to be the sellable points, and those glasses are going to be huge. I mean, to actually hold a phone up will be almost like having a flip phone in probably 5 to 10 years. So for me, looking at what we're seeing moving forward, I'm looking for companies that are really starting to push forward in that. And so this is why I think Google, Facebook, and I'm actually kind of waiting for the neural mesh to actually come with some form of augmented reality, or AR, or what's augmented reality, and what's the other one? VR and AR, some form of
virtual
AR,
reality,
VR.
and augmented reality.
Yeah, that these are going to be a part of just our daily lives. Like, we'll walk into stores, we'll put on our glasses, and we'll be like, oh, there's a deal over here, there's a deal over here. Oh, I'm with Solana's network, I've got Solana, I can actually get a deal here with that using Solana. And so it's going to be really interesting. Or let's say a company wants to have more of USDT because they're giving a good yield for staking, right, at that time. Yeah. And so I kind of foresee this happening, where you'll be able to sit there and say, click, what is the best what's the best yield that I can buy these not these coins, but these pants, this shirt. I see it happening probably within the next 5 to 10 years as the glasses come out, as well as we see stable coins kick in and a lot of the new technologies start to get forward. This is why I always talk about trading that spread on those movements within, because we won't see a time like this in the future. Like the times like here in the next 5 to 10 years, based off of these fluctuations of 2%, 3% of a lot of these stable coins is huge. I mean, just today alone, you saw USDT literally play off. I mean, it was a 3% move of USDT today, which is crazy, right? This
USDT?
This is Tron's coin, right? And so like these plays, I was looking at this earlier today. My thing pulls up every time we see like it get above that red line. So anyways, I just thought it was crazy. I was looking at that going like boom, and a quick 3 cents. I mean, it was boom.
So
So
Tron, let me get this straight. Tron has their own stable coin, yet
Yes.
Tron is the center of the Tether stablecoin universe, right? Or Tron's or Tether's probably expanding away from that, but that's where most of that's kind of Tether's settlement layer, isn't it?
I don't know the details there. I probably should learn about it.
Yeah,
But
I need to learn about those too. You're right. Let's put that on the.
Yeah, I can't. I just know that there a major people will use Tron to settle with US with Tether, with USDT, and more important, this is also what I look at, is that this period in time that we're living in is like when people were just getting credit cards and they could get like 100,000, 300,000 frequent flyer miles.
I used to get them. I hosed those MFers so badly on that. I doubled up, tripled up, quadrupled up. Oh,
Dude,
those in the 90s were so great for that. You need 100,000 American Express points? Bring them.
Yeah, like, and I had a friend of mine, he literally, how old was I? I was 21. I was taking, there was this great older man in,
Careful how you say this one.
Well, yeah.
But he was older awesome. Man when I was younger.
He was this great guy. He would sit down with me for hours teaching me math, like, YX, equilibrium, what do you call the curve, the
quadratic equation, parabolas.
Yes, quadratic. Yes, exactly. And I remember him just sitting down with me, and he would spend hours just kind of, because again, I always looked for male role models because I didn't necessarily have them in my life, right? And my foster father didn't play. He didn't step up to that role, right? And so it was, and I get it. I wasn't his kid, his kids were his kids. So, I mean, makes sense. But I did, and he was one of the men that told me, he's like, you should get into economics. I can see your brain looks for patterns. And he was pushing me towards that. But I was a dancer. Like I spent 5-6 hours doing ballet, modern ballet, jazz, like literally, like I wanted to be.
Trust me, Pedro. I want to see you do some performance dance.
It's just getting schooled. NVIDIA is going to the moon because y'all love AI. All right, next subject. Ooh, that clock. Okay, so back to what we were saying. If you want us, there are videos out there.
No. If I see them, I'll never unsee them.
All right. Old friends of mine over on YouTube or Facebook are laughing because they remember some stupid stuff we did. Anyways, okay. So jumping back here to this play here. These little nuances here that you can play on these coins here, you can capture 3 to 5%, sometimes 20, 30% in a month by simply just playing the nuances here. Like every time I get above 103, right? I'll go and I'll look at this and I go, all right, where are we sitting right now? Okay, we're seeing it go up. How far is it going to go? boom, 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 click, comes back down. So it's just these little nuances you guys can play. You can see here that these areas, as we see the move, they are going to shorten and they're going to mitigate the risk here as we start to see the institutions really get involved and set up their own trading bots to sit there and say, okay, we're above here, keep it down, short here, balance the trade, boom, sells off, they buy it, boom, 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 and they bid it back up. And so, but they're not there yet. So we can take advantage of that as a crew. So pay attention to USDD, pay attention to USDT, USDC. You can see here last month we went all the way down to 2%, almost a 2% sell off here. Right here was this was a 1%. Right here was a 1%. Again, this was a 1% push. So we're talking what is this? This is 1 for last month. And then the month before it was an additional, looks like 1, 2, so 2% there. So you can take advantage of these little things in addition to your staking, right? And besides receiving money, you can take that money, and then when you pull from your staking rewards, go in, sell it off, boom, just know it's coming, right? And then if it shoots up, you short the top, bring it back down, boom, to at parity with the dollar, boom. Once it sells off, right, or at a parity with the dollar, sell it off, and then if it sells off or if it goes up, that's when you buy it. If it sells off, you bring it back to $1, and it sometimes takes a couple days. Sometimes it's instantly. You need to pay attention to it, but it's a quick little trade that you can go in and make cash off of. So that's it in a nutshell for that. Now let's jump back here to what we were saying that correlated with that. So as the market is really starting to see a bit of a sell off here, because I think the market is just way overvalued right now. No, not here. Tesla, we're seeing Tesla. I think we expect Tesla to come down. Facebook is.
Oh, wait. Hold on, Pedro. I forgot when the first time you went over Tesla that I've been warehousing something on the Tesla topic here too. This is very important to the fundamentals of.
Okay.
Why isn't my pricing thing turning off here? Because I got to bring up my screen here to show you this. It's very.
I'm literally waiting on pins and needles here. Yeah, I saw that too. I started cracking up.
Elon,
he can't help himself.
Tesla is debuting its robotaxi in Austin, Texas, and they've geo-fenced where they can go, so people can't just drive them out in the middle of nowhere and stuff like that. And I don't know what the actual geo-fence is, but Elon put out, this is the geo-fenced area.
Dude, he literally cannot help himself.
It was so nice. It was so funny. It reminded me of Dr. Evil's spaceship.
Dude.
Anyway, some Tesla humor from Elon.
Well, either it could be the birdie or it could be something else.
Yeah, no, I think it's something else. I think that's it. If a robotaxi is going to have a trunk, so this is the junk.
And the trunk? That's not. All right, next. Okay. So, one of the things I think is really interesting to pay attention to is this. And give me 1 second.
We're coming to the end of the show, everybody, but quickly, while Pedro's typing, there's 22 people watching us now on Rumble. You're watching DYOR Live here at the DYOR Media Network. This man in the box is Pedro. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking here, and we broadcast on Rumble every weekday between 12 and 2 Eastern Time. Today's Technical Tuesday, in which we go over the markets as a whole, the worldwide indicators that kind of feed back into how your bags get fatter in Bitcoin and Nasdaq and trading all those sorts of things that us day traders, or not us, but you day traders like to do. And if you're not a trader of any sort and you're watching this show, just know that these are all things that when you watch the lamestream media and they're spewing junk about how the economy's so terrible, it's Trump's fault, all this type of stuff. If you just learn, if you listen to Pedro and I talk about it, you'll see what the real truth is or not, because it's all about numbers. It's not about spin. And So thanks for joining us for Technical Tuesday here.
Definitely. Thank you for thank you for spending time with us and hanging out. We really appreciate every one of you guys. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. If you just want to make fun of me, it's totally okay. I'm cool with it. Just don't get upset when I make fun of you. But hey, it's fun though. I love doing it. Come from a military background for about 10 years where I spent, and it was kind of fun once you finally realize, like, to throw insults back and forth just for you to see who can, you build up that tough exterior. If they, at first, and they say something about your mama or say something about, I don't think they can even do that today anymore. Like, there's gotta be still harassment, bro. Like,
I am sure drill sergeants still have long leeway in the steers and queers thing.
Yeah, like there's gotta be too.
For everyone that's a line from a famous movie, Full Metal Jacket. That's
Full Metal Jacket, like that. That's awesome. A 1970, bro. Crazy, dude. I pray we never have a war like that again, man. Anyways, so let's jump back.
How do you kill women and children? It's easy. Yeah. You just don't lead them as much. It was such an awful scene, but so funny.
Horrible.
I didn't see it. Do you kill women and children? Yes. How do you kill women and children? You just don't lead them as much because they're not running. Oh, it's terrible. Terrible scene.
Horrible. Yes. So if you want to make fun of me, more than welcome. Just don't get upset when I make fun of you. Next, let's go ahead and go over MicroStrategies here. MicroStrategies is showing a lot of strength. A lot of strength in the midst, even in the midst of what we're seeing with their. I wish I would have understood. He came out the video, Michael Saylor, about his full structure and what he's actually doing. And when I went through and I really kind of walked it through in my head, I was like, man, he is right. And in regards to the certain aspects. And so, like, I wish I would have bought in at these lows on MicroStrategy. I wish I would have, just straight up, honestly, like, because how he finally explained it, and it was actually good that he explained it, because a lot of his investors were like, dude, like, you're hurting us, you need to stop. And he goes, no, you don't understand my full strategy. And then once you finally understood it, you're like, that does make sense, dude.
The man is genius.
He's a genius, yeah, and he saw it before a lot of anybody else, which I find real interesting. I think if he was to wait, I think if he was to take half his money and buy the sell-offs as well as the top-offs, he said, I will always top off. But if Saylor did both, where if he literally just topped off at the same time buying the pullbacks, I think his return on his investors would be more happy with this, because they're able to buy more Bitcoin every time there's a sell-off versus topping off and then you're buying at a 10, 20, 30%, basically premium. So
he still thinks it's he still thinks it's at 1% of its value that we'll see in a few years. So
absolutely.
He doesn't care. I just saw another note. He's putting together another $4.2 billion bond offering to buy more Bitcoin. And he can, because the price just mooned.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he was worth $66 billion a couple weeks ago, and now he's worth $80 billion. So,
yep. So
infinite money machine.
Pull more money. And if the government keeps printing money, then we will keep having inflation, which will then keep Bitcoin going up, like, indefinitely, right? And so it's just this crazy. And one of these days, we're going to go over inflation in relationship to the multiple that BTC actually has on it. And that in itself is going to be nuts. I think that I was going through going, well, anyways, we'll go into that. But what I'm going to say is I've changed my view on MicroStrategies. And so anytime I see a bit of a sell-off again, but we're kind of peaking here, and I think obviously it's because we're seeing Bitcoin peak, but if Bitcoin sees a bit of a sell-off again, I'm looking to be picking up some of MicroStrategy and really see if I can kind of leverage here, because again, as it increases, we'll see almost a FOMO side into, I believe, MicroStrategy as well, as he starts to play this even more. I wonder if he'll ever give off dividends, though. It'll be really interesting, or is he just going to allow for capital appreciation? We'll see what happens as we
Anyway,
move forward.
Pedro, quickly, I noticed on the Rumble playlist there that Wendy O was broadcasting at the same time as we were. And then her show ended, and we had a large spike in viewership. And so if any of you are coming over to us from the Wendy O show, thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, follow, do all those things to our channel as well.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Also, so we like to go every Tuesday. I go over Technical Tuesday, or it's called Technical Tuesday. And what I do is I go over the charts, and you can check out a lot of my previous Technical Tuesdays. And I hate to brag, but the reason why I'm doing this is literally because I want you guys to kind of see what I'm doing here and then take advantage of this. It sounds like it's very, like I sound very arrogant in this, but I do this because I want to see people in crypto win, because I think that's the many people in crypto are kind of outside of the box thinkers, and a lot of times they kind of foresee things. And so this is why I kind of want to make sure that if they understand if the market is moving up and when it's contracting and expanding, how to take advantage of that. And so my goal is to really help you guys kind of see the market correctly as it's moving or contracting. So if you go and you look at a lot of my Technical Tuesdays, we go over from the global markets to the S&P US, and then from there we go over a lot of the commodities, and then I go into crypto, right? And so these are some of the things. We also go over major stocks that influence crypto as well. And so that's one of the things I try to help educate people with, and want to bring that value to you. So if you could come back tomorrow, we do an everyday show, or we do a daily show between 12 to about 2 o'clock, and you can ask any question, any chart.
Interactive.
Yes.
So create a Rumble account there and follow us.
Also,
Instead, you don't need to pay for the Rumble account. That's Rumble Premium. For the base Rumble account, you can just sign up and log in via Google or Facebook, and you can hit that like, follow button and comment. Say, Tom, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Or, you know what? That was a good call that you made on XYZ. Now, how's my internet? Is my internet dropping here?
Yeah. Well, if it dropped, you wouldn't be able to hear anymore. But your screen share is just black.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if I can just... We'll go over some stuff here in just a second.
Well, actually, we're past our time, Pedro, and as usual, I've got to get rolling here. I have a few minutes. I do have a few minutes here. Uh-oh, your audio dying. Let me check the studio screen. I think it's just your computer. I'm getting a good signal from you. You are... All right, ladies and gentlemen, Pedro will be back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, as a matter of fact. Yes?
Okay, so you can see my chart here. I'm going to go over this here real quick. Tomorrow, we're going to go back over those blockchains that we went over, kind of the up-and-coming blockchains. And additionally to that, I'm going to correlate with that some of those meme coins and see if we can take advantage of that. Also, we're going to go over the major micro meme coins as well, because we're seeing an uptick in those. And so many of us who've taken those trades and got into those, you're starting to see a profit, pretty big profit starting to come in. So this is, again, that increase in the market here. And so as we come into this altcoin season. Okay, here real quick. Let's see if this thing will allow me to...
Now your screen, it's not even in the director studio anymore.
Okay, here we go.
I don't know what interview screen I just put up.
Okay.
It's a little bit more futuristic
Next.
than the other ones.
Please, dude, why is this happening? I'm right about to finish everything up and tie in Bitcoin with everything. Come on.
Crypto Mike says, dude, signing up for Rumbles makes it easier to find your shows like this one. Plus, Rumble does
guys.
minimize to
you,
a
man.
small screen so you can keep surfing and
All
watching.
right, can you hear me, Tom, or no?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm going to take off my, I shut some things off, so we'll see here real quick.
I don't know what happened now. You put your phone on mute. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sure what Pedro's sound is. Pedro, I don't know if you can hear me, but put your sound on mute. Well, we're coming to the end of the show here. Pedro is there, but he can't hear me. He's probably waiting to hear the stream. Pedro, your screen is on mute. Something's happening here. Oh,
Okay,
there we go.
so
Now we got you. We got you again.
All right, so I want to finish up here because I want you guys to see what's actually happening here, and I want you guys to prepare for what's coming in to this week coming up. And so don't, like I talked about earlier at Bitcoin, on Monday we talked about how I expect the market to go up, sell off to the 8-period moving average on the daily, and then find support and then see it go back up. It went up to go down to go back up again, right? It's almost like a W pattern where it goes up, or it's like a V pattern, goes up, down, then up, and it creates a higher high. And a lot of times this will happen when they need liquidity. This is a liquidity pool or a stop run. And this is the way that they use to continue the market up. And so you can pay attention and understand this on a weekly chart. If you go with the weekly chart, remember, every chart has to have a bottom wick, a body, and a top wick. And so one of the ways you can pay attention here, there's multiple ways of this being created. And I go over those many times at the beginning of the week here, saying, all right, this is we'll most likely see it go down, then up, or up, then down, then up, because we're at an all-time high and they're running out of sellers. If a market is really pushing up and it's bullish, okay, there is an overwhelming amount of buyers and not enough sellers. And because of that, you need buyers and sellers to interact with each other so you can have a complete deal. So institutions, because they're in crypto now, will literally drop the market first or push the market up, then down to, and this is in a bull run, right? Because that means the market ultimately wants to go up. We'll come down first, stop everybody out, and then push it back up. And now because the sellers step in, people get out of their positions. And what are they doing? They're selling their position. And as they're selling their position, the institutions are buying it up. Then they hit the stops at the low level. And as that low level happens, then we see the market continue up, or it can see it continue up from that level. So, all right, this thing is slowed down here. And let me go ahead and fix this. So
Well, we can't see your screen share as long.
No, I know. No, I know. So I've been waiting for my computer to chill out because it decided it wanted to.
Ah, it just came back.
Right. Yeah, that was the point. I wanted to explain that as my computer was whatever. I don't understand why it does this sometimes. Like it's cool and then it's not. All right. Let's go ahead and pull this up here real quick for you guys so you guys will see what's happening. So again, we went over all that stuff. If you guys didn't catch that, go back and watch the video, what I was saying, and then see and how that correlates to what I'm about to say here with Bitcoin. Okay, so we're talking about the S&P 500 dropping, right? And with the S&P 500 dropping right now, or it's starting to drop, I think we're going to see a divergence between the Nasdaq as well as within Bitcoin in this bull run. And so with that, I think we're going to see, we talked about yesterday how the market was going up. And I said, we should see it sell off and come to that 8-period moving average or that 20-period moving average, which is this yellow line here, which is sitting at 1,000.
Wait, are you talking about S&P or Bitcoin?
I'm talking about S&P, or excuse me, I'm talking about BTC here. This is the BTC chart. But I'm referencing, because I was referencing this stuff in relationship to what we talked about earlier in the show. So you guys can understand that. Now, you can see here, as we're coming down, we hit that 8-period moving average. I said, if we're going to see it continue higher. We want to see demand wicks kind of come in on this rally, and we're not. So I think we're now going to see it sell off and come back down to that 111 area potentially. And if you look at your weekly chart, that 111 is sitting around where that 8-period moving average, 111, 110 area, right? And we can see it come back down and then see it pick back up. And this is what I'm expecting for the end of the week. So that's good for you guys. Anytime I see a sell-off in BTC now, I'm looking to be picking up. And again, you don't have to buy a lot. All you need is 0.1%. And right now, 0.1% of Bitcoin is literally $117 right now as we speak, right? And so
0.01 is 100.
0.01. Sorry, what did I say?
0.1. Said 10%.
0.1. 0.1.
0.1 Bitcoin. 10%.
Yes, thank you. Yes, 0.01. You're right. So 0.01. So you can see here, as we're coming back down to this level, this is where I would look. At these levels, this is where we then should see the real money starting to step back in and see it push up again. So you can see as we are going down, we're not putting a lot of supply wicks in. These are the wicks that are on top. And so that makes it easier for it to continue higher. And you can see from here at this level that we went up, like we came down with no supply, and now I'd expect it to continue up higher once we hit more buyers. We also have one of the levels, so we're at that 114 level, which is going to be the 1 hour 200 period moving average, and then the other level is that 111 area here. So that 150 or the 114 and the 111 area are areas that you can use to take a trade with and to see it push up. So it's pretty cool. Now, the next part here is ETH. We've talked about ETH finding its wings here. We talked about ETH back here when I was going to say, wait, I was like, it does not look like, there we go. We talked about ETH down here, seeing it go up higher, but we saw it find support on that 210. Now, the 2000 or the 2117 area. I expected us to come back down to the 1500, but once we started staying above that 8-period moving average, showing strength and not willing to go down, I said, all right, we should now see it get back easily up to that 3500, if not further, jumping up to that 3700. Now, I've talked about ETH getting up all the way to that 13,000 area. That 13,000 area is probably be the end of the bull run. And so even at 3,000, you're going to, even at $3,000 right now, you still very much could see a 4X on ETH, right? And so if you have ETH, I would look to maybe throw, my goodness, my knee is about to pop, forgive me. So this is what I'm expecting to see ETH do, especially if we see a downtrend in the stock market. I think we'll see the money funnel into the altcoins and then see a big gain in that. So I think that's one of the things we can look at. The other one I would bring up is we're watching BNB come back down to our area here. This was a trade that we've talked about for a couple days now of hitting this level here. And so many of our viewers would have taken this, and many of you knew I said once it gets above the 8-period moving average with volume, which would have been about right here. We saw the 8, we saw a sell come down into our level again, and then we can see the volume step in right here. We would have been a part of that 9 o'clock push up from 9 all the way back up to, what was it? The 679 all the way up to the 687, which is about 7 points, 8 points on Binance. So if you're playing the futures market, this would have been a good area to get in, capture your daily profit, and then from there play. But anytime you see a sell-off, if you're looking to hold something, and that's where you want to get in, right? Because I believe we're in the altcoin season, and I expect us to see us really push up. And when you look at XRP is playing a similar situation. You can see here, like ETH, it's starting to extend. Now it's coming up to its all-time high. If it breaks this all-time high, and you can see how volume is picking up in it, I expect to see it really get up and go. And I think by the end of July, August, we could see a $6 XRP, or potentially even a $5, $5 to $6 XRP. Again, remember that the altcoin season is about 6 months, 5 to 6 months, right? So this is where I'm saying you want to also expect that. I think we will see a $9 XRP here as we really start to find legs with XRP. Matic and ADA starting to set up in the same way, right? You can see it's set up the same way. I'm looking for this to continue higher. You have on Cardano this 86 cents level here. I'd expect a small pullback, but I don't expect anything really to hold it. It should do something like this. That's going to be a quick trade, and then we see it continue higher up into that dollar mark area, or that 98 cent area for ADA. Similar when it comes to Poly. Poly is going to look the same way. We have that 20 period, but once we get above this level here, right, I'd expect to see a small pullback, and then from there I'd expect to see it continue higher. So this is a liquidity area expected to hit and then sell off and come back. So boom, come back, and this is going to be a day trade. So this is basically make your money and then get out and then continue long again as we push forward. When it comes to Solana, Solana is really interesting. We talked about this 200 period moving average. I don't expect us for that to hold. I think Solana is potentially, we could see it get back up to that 200 mark area here. As long as we can see volume come in on Solana at this level here of that 187. The key is from this level here, which we're finding support on that 8 period moving average. We saw it come up to that 187. And so, or we're going to see it most likely come up to the 187 area. So nice little play here for us. I like this area from 163 on Solana. It pretty much is holding this level, and we can see volume is stepping in as it's holding. And so I would expect this thing to continue into next week, at least. And then AVAX and Ton will go over, because I'm too short, or we were going to talk about, it's 2:30, so this is why I'm trying to be careful here. But tomorrow I'm going to talk about Shiba Inu in relationship to a few other meme coins, and how we can kind of see the parallel between one and the other and see it continue. So we'll talk about that. So guys, please tune back in tomorrow, and we'll go over some blockchains as well as meme coins as well as Shiba Inu if you want to kind of see what's going to happen there. But it's a good situation. I think we're going to see it continue higher. All right, that's in a nutshell, man. Thank you so much, guys, for coming in today. And I see we still have a pretty good crew here.
We still do. We still have a pretty good crew here. Not as interactive as we'd like. So, you Rumble people, we know many of you watch on your TVs. So you can always join us on your phone too, and then be interactive with us. You can get an account. You don't have to pay for it on Rumble. You can get their free account, and you can hit that like button.
Yeah.
Like ding, 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 ding. Not that we ask you 10 times during a show, but we have. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the show today here.
And we really loved having all of them. We had 10 people like our show, which is really cool. Thank you so much for that. Those thumbs up really help us out a lot. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. If we had 10 people comment, that would also be incredible, because we still need 10 more unique people to comment on our show for our creator goals.
Yeah, it's huge, guys. If we don't have you guys come in and just even comment, man, they'll actually derate us again and put us down at the lower levels. And so that's why we're saying, hey, please come, even if it's like I said, you want to make fun of the long hair, big nose Mexican guy, it's totally okay. I'm always wearing the V-neck. Hopefully one day I can actually grow hair, so I can actually braid little braids right here, man.
Now we're getting a little crazy here. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the show. Thanks for paying attention to us during Technical Tuesday. We'll be here tomorrow and Wednesday to go over as Pedro said, a lot of the high-level meme coins and some other interesting ones, along with other things that have to do with the official crypto week. So, ladies and gentlemen, as always, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking here in the digital media world. The man in the box next to me is Mr. Pedro Garcia, the crypto chart analyst. We are here on the DYOR Live talk show on the DYOR Live Media Network. Stay tuned for more of our shows. Stay tuned for some crypto swamp feature episodes coming out. So we'll see you tomorrow. Be there.
Taking a second to look into everything I can spirit beneath all the hate and the good in the way that they want to just make me believe in anything they can conceive. Keep it inside and freak with the flow. Can be your ride, I'll open the door. When we arrive, I'll look at my soul. Nothing to see, nothing to know. Don't you know me, homie? I'll be on these lonely roads, riding with my dumpies open, hoping someone sees me.